Hey, what's up guys? It's Apollo Uchiha here, back with another part of what if Naruto was the 5th Hokage. And if you haven't, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you like the content of this channel. And without further ado, let's begin our story. Naruto back into his runt form. He watched as Tsunade continuously cratered the ground with her attacks in an effort to hit Orochimaru or Kabuto. Surely he's wasting a lot of chakra if she thinks she could hit them with that. I mean, she's slow, even when she's really falling. Another great line to use, I guess. Naruto thought as Orochimaru jumped onto a boulder and Kabuto dodged away, still on the ground. Stop running, you bastards! I'm gonna turn you into a stains on the ground. Now take your that's like men. Tsunade yelled out in rage as she shook her fist at them. Yeah, that'll keep 'em in one spot, Granny. Good job. Naruto thought as he rolled his eyes once again from his spot on a large boulder not too far behind her. Why, Tsunade, you seem tired. Is old age finally starting to creep up on you? The snake Sanin said cynically, but then was forced to dodge again as a chakra-powered fist was brought down where she once stood, atop now demolishing the boulder. If one of those even scrapes me, it'll be painful as hell, if not fatal. The white snake thought before Tsunade was after him again. Naruto watched as Tsunade and Kabuto fought for a bit. They seemed to be well versed in medical jutsus as they fought one another on ground, seemingly tapping each other while cutting muscles and ligaments. Oh wait, Tsunade just said something about lighting chakra and disrupting the central nervous system or something about the brain. He was more of an action guy than rather listening intently to dialogue. Anyway, she was pouncing on Kabuto like a tiger in the forest of death. This time, it was Kabuto who reacted as he took out a kunai and sliced his own hand right in front of Tsunade's face. As soon as the crimson liquid entered the woman's side, she collapsed in a heap. What the hell? This is just like last night. Crap, she's afraid of blood. Didn't expect that from some hotshot cranky ass legendary medic like Granny's supposed to be. Naruto thought as he hadn't seen any actual attack, so that was the logical conclusion. Damn, he sounded like Shino just then. He continued to watch as Kabuto simply punted the slug princess away from the pair. It ticked him off, but he knew that a spar with Jiraiya was far different than a battle against Kabuto. He knew he couldn't just leap into the battle, especially with Orochimaru watching him and Tsunade like a snake watching its next meal. Tsunade, still afraid of a little bud? What kind of medic are you? Now I don't even have to lift a finger. Now that I could. Kabuto, take care of her, please, Orochimaru said as he decided to take a front row seat in order to watch the show as Kabuto proceeded to hit and kick Tsunade around the palm. He watched as Naruto out of the corner of his eye and was sure the young lad would have joined Tsunade in battle with his impulsiveness, but it seems that the brat had learned something in the few weeks since the invasion. Link break. Orochimaru ninja senses went off as he jumped high into the air. Not even a second later, an explosion occurred where he had been sitting. He looked around wildly and so did Kabuto, but all they saw was Naruto and he hadn't moved. Just then Kabuto was forced to move away from Tsunade as a rain of kunai had came down on him. He reached the area and searched for another enemy in the said area, but the only one was Naruto. He hadn't moved from that spot, not even an inch. Orochimaru watched Naruto closely for a second, just a split second. He could have sworn he saw Naruto flicker as if not there. Orochimaru threw a kunai at the boy from his mouth and Naruto dodged to the side with a look of disgust on his face. Hey, I don't know where that's been. It just came out from your mouth. If I touched that, I would have to apply medicines for years to make me clean again, Naruto said with a disgusted look at Orochimaru. Orochimaru's eyes him suspiciously as he leaned over to Kabuto. Kabuto, deal with them, and then I'll kill Naruto-kun myself. Just you wait, Orochimaru said with an evil gleam in his snake-like eyes as Naruto narrowed his own. Both over them knew Naruto could hear everything that was said, even if was in whispers. Kabuto smirked as he headed for Naruto after kicking Tsunade away. Naruto went through a few hand seals and tossed 3 shurikens at Kabuto, who started at high speed upon seeing the blonde go through Hansi's ninja art, Shuriken, Shadow Jutsu. Kabuto dodged and weaved through the hail of iron signs as he headed his way towards Naruto. He quickly made a chakra scalpel as he neared the blonde, but was denied his target when said blonde threw a new wave of shurikens coming at him. As if that weren't bad enough, he had to deal with the extra effort of fighting against someone who could use such technique. And didn't Naruto get access to the leaf's more formidable jutsus? Kabuto thought as he jumped above Naruto and came down with a knife-like swift motion that was to take the blonde's head off. Kabuto's eyes widened when the blonde he had just killed flickered from vision and disappeared altogether. He looked around and found that Brad was with Tsunade slung over his shoulder. Not even bothered to watch Kabuto, he and Orochimaru were baffled. Neither had seen the boy move, and yet both knew all Jinchuriki had far too much chakra to perform the standard clone jutsu at all rights. So, how had Naruto got over there? Orochimaru and Kabuto analyzed Naruto as Kabuto appeared on side his master, while Naruto was healing Tsunade's minor wounds. Link break. It seems that much has changed about young Naruto-kun since our last festival in the Leaf Village. It wasn't a clone, but an after image you cut through, Kabuto. Orochimaru said with a snake-like smile on his lips as Orochimaru could see that Kabuto was still confused. Orochimaru-sama, I don't understand. Only a few people are fast enough to leave an after image. Surely Naruto hasn't grown that much in a short amount of time, Kabuto said as Orochimaru merely chuckled and waved him off. I'm sure of it, Kabuto-kun. It was an A-grade after image. He didn't use pure speed like you were thinking, but instead combined his speed with chakra, I believe. Though, the part I don't understand is that Orochimaru explained as he pointed to a mark on the boulder Naruto had been on. It was a gentle footprint. Kabuto looked at it and then looked towards Naruto and Tsunade, being sure to trail his eyes on the ground, connecting to 2 points. Kabuto's eyes went and realization struck him, with Orochimaru nodding upon seeing the expression. You see it now too, then? Not a single footprint until he was by Tsunade. That means that he either flew faster than the blink of an eye, or he moved so fast from one spot to the next that it only required one step. Like a flash of light, or flashing step, Orochimaru said as Kabuto began to sweat like a bullet. He and his lord both knew that his speed, grace and accuracy was his greatest weapon. It was why he compared himself to Kakashi Hatake, because he'd be able to fight the man on no equal grounds in these areas. Surely, he had only 7 real combat jutsus, and his taijutsu was lacking, but he was a medic and could heal quickly, so that allowed him to keep ground with others like Kakashi. So when he fully understood that Naruto was faster than him, it made him fear a bit. He knew that if he was outstripped in speed, then a battle would be useless. Without the greatest speed, none of his jutsu, which were all short-ranged at the moment, could hit because Naruto would dodge and counter. Now, Kabuto, don't fear. Just look at Naruto-kun's face. He's sweating and panting a bit. That says that he either's not used to that technique yet, which means that it was created and used recently, which is likely, or that it expands too much chakra to be used, which is basically impossible since he's a cubist Jinchuriki, Orochimaru said with interest in his voice as he watched Naruto healing jutsu on Tsunade. Link break. Naruto was sweating a bit as he wiped his sweat from his brow as he sat beside Tsunade, not taking his eyes off of his 2 enemies. He knew using the technique was more than he could handle at the time, especially having used it 2 times before the attack Orochimaru and Kabuto with those explosion attacks and kunais at speed that was faster than the blink of an eye. Using it fast enough for them not to see was more than his body could truly handle. Ever since, he hasn't used the techniques at all yet, because he created it recently. Now he knew why people waited until mastery of a move to use it at its full potential in a battle. Damn, I've nearly reached my limit with that move, Naruto said to himself as he stood up and narrowed his eyes at the 2 sound ninjas. He wanted to be able to take the both of them down on his own, and maybe he could, with his sheer power and ability. But sadly, the world and reality favored the skills and experience, and he knew that he had this been at least a month later on the track he was on, he could fight both of them toe to toe. In his current state, he'd be able to hold them off at least until Orochimaru sealed off his chakra and Kabuto killed him with those scalpels. Oh well, I love a challenge, Naruto exclaimed while getting up as Orochimaru smirked at him. Orochimaru's smirk turned from such to a grin, to a full-blown white snake grin, until he finally burst out into laughter, and Kabuto was put on edge the way the two of them were laughing, because Naruto hadn't done the same a few seconds after Orochimaru. They were both insane. Kabuto fixed his glasses so they wouldn't see his utter fear from them. He then calmed himself and fixed a smirk on his face as he approached Naruto and Tsunade with his left hand already covered in chakra, making his chakra scalpel. Naruto stopped his maniacal laughter as he narrowed his eyes while standing up fully to meet Kabuto. You really shouldn't interfere, Naruto. You aren't even close to being on my level yet, Kabuto taunted as he rushed to attack Naruto. He knew if Naruto used that speed to slice his head off, then it'll be all over. Naruto flipped over a low swipe and caught a kunai from the hidden seal under his wrist. It was a good thing he had thought of it beforehand. He dodged the blow from Kabuto as best he could while still recovering, but he was still caught on the wrist by one of Kabuto's slashes. Naruto found that he had lost all feelings in his hand and he dropped his kunai. His momentary distraction state was all the opening Kabuto needed to kick him in the chest. Stay down, Naruto. You're an impressive Genin. I'll give you that, but you're not that special. If you fight against those stronger than you, you'll eventually die, Kabuto said as he turned towards Tsunade, his chakra scalpel at the ready for the lady, who was still paralyzed in fear of the blood on his hand. Naruto sprang up to his feet and was able to get between Kabuto and Tsunade as he blocked Kabuto's slash on his injured arm and felt the sharp pain had go through his limb. Do you like my attack, Naruto? It's called a chakra scalpel and can slice apart your insides without causing the tiniest scratch on your skin. You can't win, so stand aside and I may allow you to watch what I do to Tsunade. She will heal my master, Kabuto said with a dark and twisted smile as he attempted to strike Tsunade. He was shocked when he felt himself being restricted from behind. He felt that his arms were bounded by some sort of energy. It wasn't chakra, yet it couldn't move, and he could tell it was close. What is this? Kabuto questioned as he turned to look behind him. Naruto had two fingers outstretched towards him as he lay on the ground, breathing heavily. It was that damn smirk on his face that infuriated Kabuto so much. Bakudo 1. Sigh. It is the first of many I will create, and you should feel honored to be its very first captive, Naruto said through ragged breath as he stood up shakily. Kabuto was already healing the damage, and if Kabuto somehow broke free of it, then Naruto would be long since healed by that time. Kabuto focused his chakra as he stood up, even that been somehow a difficult challenge. Naruto walked towards him, holding out his hand as if there was a small ball in it. Now, as good a time as any, Naruto thought as he held up his arm that hadn't been disabled. Naruto began to form the Rasengan in his hand as Kabuto's eyes widened at seeing such a powerful flow of pure chakra. He saw Kabuto struggling against his Bakudo and knew he had only a few more seconds before the traitor was free. I can lose here. I won't let this traitor hurt her. I won't. She might be crabby, but since she's down, she could rise a better person, to be as sweet as Shizune-chan. Then she's bound to be a good person herself. I'm the Hokage, and I'll protect her with my life, like the rest of the village. Believe it, Naruto thought as his resolve hardened and he fully formed the Rasengan. What he didn't notice was it was somewhat bigger than a normal one. Never threaten anyone while I'm around. Rasengan! Naruto yelled as he thrusted his attack into Kabuto's chest. Naruto fell to his knees as he watched Kabuto's body being blown away back from the deadly attack. He turned to look at Tsunade and began to slowly walk over to her. He began to try and wake her up out of her sputter. He kept shouting things at her. Her life, Shizune, hell. He even mentioned Jiraiya. However, Naruto didn't see the blow coming behind him, and he was thrown away from it by a hand. It was then a plume of smoke erupted in between Tsunade and Kabuto, forcing the latter to jump back to Orochimaru's side. With a frown on his face, Naruto looked at him with narrowed eyes as he watched the area he attacked Kabuto in heel right in front of him. Is it some sort of bloodline or some kind of medical ninjutsu? Naruto thought as Jiraiya and Shizune were now standing beside him and in front of Tsunade. Nice attack, Naruto-chan. If I had used up more chakra earlier, then I wouldn't have been able to heal the damage you did. Even as it is, your attack did cause me some major damage, but I don't think that you are in any position to take advantage, Kabuto said as Naruto fell to his knee, panting at the more draining effect on his chakra. Though he quickly got over it, much to Kabuto's shock and annoyance. Link break. What a great party you got here, Orochimaru. You didn't mind if we crash it, do you? Jiraiya said with a smirk on his face as Orochimaru chuckled. Not at all, Jiraiya. Just be sure to drop dead by the end of it, Orochimaru said as Kabuto stood at the ready. Only if you do first, Jiraiya said in a serious tone as his smirk fell from his now serious face while he dropped into a stance. Let's take our party out of the way. Let the kids here have some fun, Jiraiya said as he looked at Naruto and the others from the corner of his eyes. He saw that Naruto still slightly panting and had probably already used that new speed technique more than he should have. Fine by me, Kabuto, be sure to end their lives, Orochimaru said as Kabuto took a deep breath and went through hand signs. Jiraiya's eyes widening as he noticed which ones, and he bit his thumb as he flashed through the same. Kabuto pecked Orochimaru's thumb with a kunai, and both cried out the same thing, summoning jutsu. In a burst of smoke, two snake heads and a toad tongue cut through the smoke. The toad tongues wrapped around the snake's body as the snake flipped its boneless body over and slammed its tail into the toad's head, causing it to be sent back into its world. Jiraiya cursed as he was forced to dodge the snake lunge. The snake caused a large amount of earth to be thrown into the air along with creating a dust cloud as Naruto and Shizune, who was crying and carrying Tsunade, jumped from rock to rock. A snake had shot out of the dust cloud and went straight for the three ninjas. Damn it, move, Naruto said as he shoved Tsunade and Shizune out of the way. As the snake opened its mouth with him having no way to dodge or avoid being eaten. Why is it always snakes? Naruto yelled out as the snake closed its large jaws with him in them. Link break. In Konoha with Ino. Meanwhile, Ino was having a talk with her dad, and the man had found that it was a good time to be drinking coffee and read the Konoha Times newspaper when Ino walked into his room and wanted to talk about her newest crush. What do you mean, my little Ino-chan, by that? Inoichi said as he turned creakily towards his daughter. I said that I like Naruto now, Dad. Seriously, I can't believe I didn't see it earlier. Naruto's nice, if not a complete goofball and immature, but since he's nice and kind, he's good looking as well, and loyal, not a pervert, and plus, he's from 2 clans, Dad, 2! That means he's bound to be rich, and probably famous someday. He might actually become a hokage someday, like he always said. Just think me married to the hokage, Ino said girlily as she lost herself in her own fantasy world while her father was sipping his coffee, whispering things like, you have no idea, and if only you really knew. Inoichi sighed as he patted the spot next to him for Ino to sit down. She did so as he gained a serious look. If she really wanted to be with Hokage-sama, then he'd better be sure not to offend his Hokage by having her get into a relationship with him to be a mere fangirl or rich wife about that. Ino, why don't you like that Uchiha boy, Sasuke, anymore? Inoichi asked with a critical eye as Ino lowered her head. To be honest, I really gave up on Sasuke a long time ago. He never really liked any of the girls, with any interested beyond people. He might consider us Konoichi and a fellow ninja, but not girls he like. The point is, Sasuke isn't going to settle down with any of us because we've been chasing him and having nothing to offer. He's only now starting to see Sakura as a friend, and you see how long that took, didn't you? During the academy, I and Sakura kinda bonded over chasing after Sasuke. It was fun having a rival in that aspect, but now after talking with Asuma sensei, I see that guys like Sasuke won't give fangirls the day of the time. Ino said as her head still lowered and in a whispered voice as tears rolled down her eyes. Inoichi softened his gaze as he hugged his daughter. So what makes you think Naruto would want a fangirl? He asked as she wiped her tears. But I'm not gonna be a fangirl to him. I know Sasuke has some real feelings for Sakura. She's the only girl he actually tolerates. I'm going after Naruto because I realize that good guys like him are one in a million. He's funny, kind, gentle, loyal, sweet, and from what I've heard from Hinata, he always keeps his promises. Isn't that the kind of guy you said I should marry anyways? Ino said as Inoichi smiled down at his daughter. Yes it is, but you should think about this a lot more than just now. Don't jump into this, ease into it, and see if the feelings are mutual. If they are, then you and he have my blessings, but if they aren't, then you'll find the right one eventually. I just know it, Inoichi said as he kissed his daughter's forehead and hugged her. Thanks, Daddy, Ino said. You're welcome, my little Ino-chan, he said as he patted her back. He just hoped that he wouldn't have to fight Hiyashi for the rights of first wife. He knew how much Hiyashi's daughter Hinata loved the boy. With Link Break with Tenten, she and her team were practicing in the training field. She looked towards Neji and thought of what Ino had said. Was it true? Hey Neji, can I ask you something? Tenten said quietly as Neji wiped the sweat from his brow. Yes, Tenten, what is it? Neji replied. It was then she noticed that he wasn't as cold or as harsh as he used to be. He had actually responded back with curiosity in his voice, and his voice was kinder than it used to be. Did you ever have feelings for me? Tenten asked as with a noticeable blush and stutter. Neji raised a brow at it, and as did Lee and Guy, but those two stay out of the conversation although they were listening. Yes, at a time I did have small crush on you, but as we became a team and got to know each other better, it faded into admiration and understanding for your hopes and dreams. I'm sorry if you hold feelings for me, but I had none for you other than pure friendship only, Neji said without the slightest bit of hesitation or remorse for his words. Even Lee's eyes widened as just how blunt he was at telling her he didn't like her. It seemed some things never changed. Damn it, Ino was right. That arrogant stick up your ass wouldn't have stopped you from asking me out. Oh Kami-sama, why didn't I see it before? Tenten exclaimed as all her male teammates face vaulted into the ground, with Neji eyebrows twitching up a storm. It seemed that Ino Yamanaka had just made his list. Link Break. The battle with Jiraiya and Orochimaru. Art style. Dark Swamp. Jiraiya shouted out as he and Orochimaru appeared on the back of the two-headed snakes. Orochimaru laughed a bit with a smirk as he looked out at the swamp his creature was trapped in. But strong Jiraiya, I knew you were always weak, but even you, as one of the Sanins like myself, was always able to do better than this. Even you, a failure as you are, should have been able to sink my snake. What's strong? Tsunade get to you? Orochimaru said as Jiraiya smirked back at him. Wasn't trying to sink you, Orochi-chan. I was waiting a bit before we started the real battle atop this beast, Jiraiya said in a mocking tone as Orochimaru narrowed his eyes at his white-haired ex-comrade. He hated to admit it, but a full-strength Jiraiya was far more powerful than he was at the moment, and even at his own full strength he wouldn't be able to kill Jiraiya because he knew Jiraiya had more power than he did. It was then both of the Sannin cut their eyes to the mouth of the snake as it exploded, and Naruto jumped out of it. As soon as they saw his escape, Jiraiya was forced to dodge the legendary blade Kusanagi, which Orochimaru was currently wielding with its mouth. It seemed that even without arms Orochimaru could use his treasured Kusanagi. Oh, how Jiraiya wished Orochimaru had been killed by that damnable blade sometimes stuck in his gut. You seem determined to run away, Jiraiya. Where is that will of fire that the old fool I call Sensei continued to speak of? You know, right up until his death at my hands, Orochimaru said in a tone as he knew Jiraiya would get angry over that jab. Jiraiya's eyes hardened and in a surprising burst of speed he grabbed the blade with his chakra-coated hands and threw it away. Orochimaru's eyes widened as he didn't have time to dodge when Jiraiya followed up with a savage punch to Orochimaru's face, sending the white snake crawling along the snake's skin until he was near his sword. Don't you dare speak of Sensei like that, Orochimaru. You know far better than that, Jiraiya said loudly in a tone that gave the snake's son pause and some level of fear. Orochimaru had rarely seen Jiraiya as serious as he was currently, and had a bad suspicion that the fight with his old teammate would go south rather than he had expected. He shook his head out of his thoughts when Jiraiya was attacking again. His strike was more swift and powerful as it not for Orochimaru's natural snake-like abilities and flexibilities. Jiraiya would have pounded the snake's son into ground as like toothpaste or snake as it was. Orochimaru launched his tongue and wrapped it around Jiraiya's leg, hurling the larger man into the air. He attempted to kick him, only for Jiraiya to be prepared for the strike. Needle Jizo, Jiraiya said as his long hair wrapped around him and extended out his spikes. Orochimaru hissed in pain as his legs were skewered by the hair. Orochimaru was now in pain. Jiraiya released his technique and grabbed Orochimaru's leg, only to hurl the paler Sanin into the ground away from the snake. Jiraiya landed in front of him and completed Rasengan in his hand. Orochimaru could just feel the pain already. Rasengan, Jiraiya yelled out as he thrust the orb of chakra towards Orochimaru's head. Jiraiya wasn't surprised when Orochimaru's body dissolved into mud, although he was when he felt a sharp pain and saw that the Kusanagi had just nicked him through his sides. Really shouldn't let your guard down, Orochimaru said in a teasing manner. He mentally called his blade back to him. Jiraiya fell to the ground in a grunt of pain. He could already feel the poison beginning to spread and knew he had to finish this fight before it killed him. That was if Orochimaru did do it first. It seemed we both have a handicap now, Jiraiya said as he shakingly stood up to his feet. Maybe, but I always was more talented, far more talented than you, Jiraiya Baka, Orochimaru said with a smile as he and Jiraiya attacked one another again, but this time disappearing into blurs of speed. Lingberg, Naruto sailed through the air as he had finally escaped the damn snake's mouth. Okay, that is never happening again, Naruto exclaimed as he looked around. I saw Shizune being kicked away by Kabuto only for her to breathe out some weird purple cloud. That was when his eyes widened a bit, and finally realizing that it was poison, he watched as Kabuto sunk into the ground almost instantly. He needed to warn Shizune fast. Shizune, watch out, he's underground! Naruto shouted out as Shizune looked up at him and her eyes widened as she jumped into the air as soon as Kabuto's hand broke ground. She wasn't fast enough as Kabuto had trapped each of her ankle, effectively cutting her tendons. He pulled himself out of the ground just as Shizune landed and crumbled to the ground, not able to stand on her own feet due to her severe ankle tendons. Well, it seems that warning was for naught, huh, Naruto? Kabuto said with a smug-like smile as he kicked Shizune back over to Tsunade. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he stared at Kabuto. As soon as his feet touched the ground, he was gone in a blur. Kabuto panicked as he saw the boy disappear, but panic soon turned to pain as he found Naruto's fist lodged into his gut. So, you wanted to know what for not, huh? Well, look into my eyes and you tell me what for not, Naruto said heatedly as Kabuto's smug smile came back. All he needed to do was play along while he healed from the crushing chakra enhanced punch, but Naruto had just delivered, and then he could redirect his chakra back to his chakra cables and cut Naruto's windpipe in half. It was the perfect plan, or so he thought. What could possibly be so interesting about your eyes? Kabuto said, but fell silent as he stared into the now purple eyes of Naruto Uzumaki. Kabuto's eyes lost all form of life in them as he gazed into the glowing purple eyes, then held his attention in them. From Naruto's eyes to Kabuto flew a purple eagle insignia it was the symbol of the Great King. Kabuto then instantly felt as if anything Naruto said he would obey without fail. He felt as if the person he was before he looked into the eyes of his new and only king was being destroyed and a greater person was being born. A person who would serve his Naruto Dono well. How he loved the person he was becoming, but the old part of him hated it with all its might. The old part of him felt that the only person they would and should serve was Orochimaru. Needless to say, that part was quickly turned out as the new Kabuto bowed like a knight awaited orders from their king, his king, Naruto. How may I serve you, Uzumaki Dono? Kabuto asked from his bowing position in a low and humble tone. There was no arrogance, no hate, no ignorance when and while in the presence of its king. Now there was only servitude and joy in the servitude. Shizune watched in complete shock that the boy who was about to kill them was bowing to Naruto. You may rise, my noble servant. From now you will serve me well, Naruto said in a regal tone as Shizune gasped like a fish. What do you request for me, my king? Kabuto said as he got up. I ask that you spy on Orochimaru for me. When around me and not Orochimaru, you will be my servant as you are now. When in both our presence, you will act as you once did, as his servant and not mine. While him and not I, you will act as you once did. Is that understood? Naruto said as commandingly and kindly as he could. Even though Kabuto was his enemy, he didn't need it to treat the guy badly. He was pretty nice during the Chunin exams, even if was all just an act. Kabuto nodded and he bowed once again. It is understood, as you wish, my lord. So, you have commanded, so let it be done, Uzumaki Dono, my king. Kabuto said as Naruto sighed in exasperation. The scroll said nothing about them acting as mindless, loyal puppets. You may act yourself, Kabuto, and call me Naruto, as you wish, Naruto-sama. Kabuto said as he once again stood and adorned a smile. I'm Naruto. How did you do that? Shizune voiced as Naruto and Kabuto had just remembered she was there. She shifted nervously as they stared at her with surprise. Oh yeah, that, well, it's a part of bloodline, the Daiogon. Or in my case, the Kami Daiogon. It allows me to take control of a person and turn them into basically a knight in service to me as their king. I can make them do whatever I want, so long as they looked into my eyes once while my bloodline was activated. The problem with that part of my dojutsu are that I must have eye contact, and that I can only take control of 5 people every 3 years. Once I take control of those 5, I have to wait 3 years before I can use that ability again at all. It's called the Knighting or Geas, Naruto explained while Shizune walked over to them. After healing her tendons, she held her stomach where Kabuto had kicked her. Kabuto at least had the decency to look apologetic at the sight. You said a part of his Kami Daiogon. What else is there? She asked, unsure if she was allowed to question him about his bloodline. She remembered that most clans and bloodline users were very shush about their bloodlines and jutsus around others. Oh well, it has only one other use that I know of. It allows me to see a great distance, up to only full kilometer of clear and accurate vision, sort of like a hokage vision, huh? Other than that, the scroll containing information was pretty vague on anything else, saying things like a great king must look to the past and future in certain instances as to better prepare and extend his regime. It sounded like a lot of boring crap to me, but Sensei thought it might be a hint of another power of my dojutsu. Naruto finished as a shrug as Shizune tried to make heads or tails of the quote. It sounded as if the dojutsu would give him the power to see the past and future, but that couldn't be right. No one had that power to know what would happen, right? I believe it is time we got Tsunade-sama to her right self, my master. She has been in that state for far too long, Kabuto said as he looked towards the frozen slug princess. Her gaze held nothing but fear. And Naruto frowned as he didn't like that. It was too much like what the villagers would look like when he used to go shopping. Oh yeah, the villagers. He'd been to find a way to deal with them after he got back to the village. Not the time to think about that. He had to deal with one more problem at the time. I got to fix this, and I have a perfect plan to snap her out of it, Naruto said with a grin appearing on his face. Oh, it would be dicey, but he always did enjoy life on the edge of a kunai. He and Kabuto began fighting once more, but this time with a dangerous plan. As this is where I'm going to be leaving this part of, guys. I hope you like this one, and if you do, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you like the content of this channel. And this is Apollo Uchiha, and I'm signing out. Peace.